Good morning. It's the 7th of December. Rabbi Furst, Pierke, Avos.
Shalom, good morning, Lou. Good morning, Eliezer Tzvi. How's everyone today?
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
Very good. Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshivat Samanashi, here in Shlaim Care Zoom. This is our first year. We're learning, just probably finishing up today our explorations into the Hanukah. Good morning, Barry. How are you today?
I sent that, I hope everybody got it. I sent the Miller thing on Mekids.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Very good.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
there'll be a test on Sunday.
Oh, very good. Multiple
Got it.
choice or essay?
Pardon me?
Multiple choice or an essay? Okay. Let me put on the screen what we're just about to finish up our learning about Hanukkah. Hanukkah came to an end yesterday. We'll finish up our Hilchos Hanukkah also today also. I think maybe you got the email about the what we'll be learning in the Halakha Shir as well. I sent that out. So okay, let's just review the right. Yes, paragraph. Let's try and do today paragraph 18, 19, and 20. Yeah, who would like to read? Any volunteers?
I do.
You're gonna have to keep doing it till you get it right.
Well, then you're in for the long run. Veneer,
Lou's doing, he's making great strides, Baruch Hashem, from the time that he came and joined us. His mom is making tremendous progress.
You're doing better than me.
Well, you need to practice then, Barry.
thank you.
Good morning,
Appreciate
Mayor.
the vote of confidence.
Yeah, you're doing very good, Baruch Hashem. Okay, again,
Okay.
paragraph number 18.
Number 18. Veneer lifrash she'ein kol stira. Stira.
A stira is the contradiction.
Okay, so it seems that from this explanation there is no contradiction.
Right, there is to explain that there is not any contradiction.
There is to explain that there's no contradiction. Mima she mifarash bezeh begemora. From what is explained about this in the Gemara, Levain ma she omrim halel v'hahoda'ah ba'alanisim.
Right. So again, just to review, the Gemara made a complete emphasis on the miracle of the Pak Shemin, and in contrast, the Alanisi makes a complete emphasis on the miracle of the Milchama. Two different miracles. One, the Gemara is emphasizing the miracle of the Ner Hanukkah, the nace of the Pak Shemin and the lighting for 8 days. And in contrast, we mentioned in Alisim, exclusively the battles and the wars and the triumphs and the victories that Akadosh Baruch Hu did through miraculous intervention, without any real mention of the Ner Hanukkah. And he's going to explain that there's no contradiction between the two emphases.
Kizos bevadai hanes, because this certainly is the miracle. V'ha'atzila from of the rescue. Mima sheratzu lihashkicham mi sorasecha.
Oimid ma'alakol.
Omed Me'al Hakol, that we were rescued from from their trying to make us forget the Torah, which was the most primary.
Right. That was the essential, absolute necessary miracle that had to take place. Right. Boy, if Chas v'Sholom, the Greeks had conquered us and the menorah was burning for 8 days, what would that mean? It would mean nothing at all.
Well,
But they did, in other words, we weren't victorious over them. There were still many years of battle.
Right, but
So-
the initial victory allowed that the nace of the Pach Shemen took place, meaning there was an initial victory, which was the beginning of the end for them. It took many years, decades, in fact, before the whole conflict came to end. But nevertheless, the miracle of the initial victory was sufficient that was a beginning of the end.
Ulazeh hamechorivos shalanu, and from this comes our obligation. Aval devar zeh sheba hadavar ba'avur, but this thing that comes for the sake of sharitza Elokim, of being pleasant to Hashem, ma'asenu zeh, these deeds nisgala are revealed lanu for us, kasher lehadar, like that lehadar. What's lehadar?
That is the
I'm sorry, la'achar. That afterwards, shegavra malchus beis Hashmonai unitzachom unitzchom. That afterwards, the kingship of the Hashmonaim, what's nitzchom?
Was victorious.
Was victorious. Harau lanu shemaima. It was shown for us from heaven. Nes pach hashemen, the miracle of the jug of oil. Shelo haya bo ella lehadlik yom echad, that it only had enough to burn for one day. V'naaseh bo nes, and there was made in it a miracle. V'hadliko mi menu shmona yamim, and they lit it for 8 days.
Yeah. So what is the general rule is that a Kadosh Baruch Hu always expects us to do our absolute maximum. After we've done our absolute maximum, even when it comes to doing the impossible, many times individuals and collectively have been forced to do the impossible. But nevertheless, even though it's impossible, right, since we understand that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is with us and a Kadosh Baruch Hu is the Kol, he's absolutely all powerful in all different ways, then there's nothing impossible for a Kadosh Baruch Hu to do. So therefore, if we're faced with having to do the impossible, so we originally have to do everything that's in our power to do the maximum we can possibly do, right? Like the Yam Suf, we were faced by the Egyptians chasing after us, the wild beasts in the desert on one side and the Yam on the other side, right? So the only thing we could possibly have done, right, was to jump into the Yam Suf. Once we did our maximum of what we could do, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu took over and did the miracles, and he split the Yam Suf. Likewise, the Hashmonaim was completely impossible, completely according to all military, cultural, sociological estimates, that the Jews would have any possibility of any victory against the powerful Greeks or Syrians. But nevertheless, when they rebelled and they were successful with their rebellion and they tried to their maximum to do the absolute what there was in their power to do, then a Kadosh Baruch Hu, that was the Ritzi, that was the finding favor in the eyes of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. A Kadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, he saw, the Oshmanayim, they're willing to try and do the very best, their maximum to regain the Beis Hamikdash and to reinstitute the Avoda. That was their desire and that was their goal. And so they gained this victory through miracles. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu went even further and showed them a miracle which was not related to what was necessary to do for the military victory. It was simply necessary to do to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu's constant care and watchfulness over Klal Yisrael.
I don't see how this resolves the contradiction.
No, he's not. So the mentioning in the Alanisim that those miracles with what HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed that he was willing to support the Hashmonaim in their battles against the enemy, and miraculously so he supported the Hashmonaim against their enemies. And therefore, what we have to do is we have to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for what he did for us. Where do we say Al Nisim? We say Al Nisim in Modim Anachnu Lach. We are thankful to you, right? Modim Anachnu Lach. We place that in our middle of our Shmon Esrei, that we have to make a personal and collective statement to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we are appreciative and thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for what he did for us, right? So when it comes to Hanukah, what did he do for us? He saved us from their plan to destroy us and their plan to have us forget our Torah. So we have to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for that, right?
Right.
The nace of the Pak Shemin has nothing to do with what we have to say thank you for. We don't have to say thank you for the nace of the Pak Shemin, because that has nothing to do with the Kadosh Baruch Hu saving us.
Right.
When you get it, you get a gift, right? You get a gift, and it's Barry, right? You get a nice big gift. Someone delivers you a nice big box, and it's got there a shofar that's worth a couple of 2,000 shekels there in that box, and it's gift wrapped, and it's got a nice big ribbon all around it, right? So you open it up and you say, wow, thank you. You say thank you for the shofar. You don't say who says thank you for the gift wrapping? You go through the annals of the histories of birthdays through the beginning of time until now. I don't think one person ever thanked somebody for the gift wrapping. Maybe they'd say it's a very nice gift wrapping. When no one says, wow, thank you for such, what a nice ribbon. Go through the history of birthdays, you'll never find anyone mention anything. Thank you for the gift wrapping. It's not important. So I'm not saying that the Ner, the Pak Shemin is not important, but it's in a certain way, it's like the gift wrapping. The real present Hashem saved us. And he didn't let us fall to the plans and the destructive desires of our enemy. That's what we have to thank HaKadosh Baruch for that, right? The Nes Pak Shemin and the Ner burning for 8 days, that's like gift wrapping. It's important. It's not just simply gift wrapping, it's very important. But in terms of our obligation to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, The fact that we don't mention it in Modim, in Al-Islam, is not a contradiction to the fact that the Gemara mentions it. He's going to explain a little further. Take a look. You'll see paragraph number 19.
Could it be said this way, that if the miracle of the oil had never happened, but everything else happened, we would still think it's a great event?
Right, 100% for sure.
So, if the oil never happened, then we just got together and talked about the victory every year. That certainly would be sufficient. It would seem to be sufficient, no?
To a certain extent, but obviously we have to excuse me, we have to understand why Kadosh Baruch Hu felt the necessity of making the nace of the shemen. That we still have to understand. So let's see further.
Kafi שראיסי בחסם סופר
Right. Sharisi b'chasam sefer, according to what I saw in the chasam sefer.
According to what I saw in the Chasam Sofer, Bida Risho
In his drushes.
I'm sorry?
In his drushes.
In his drushes, Bidrashosav, She Mevoar, Denes Ha Menorah, that the miracle of the lighting, Haroeh Shechol Yisrael Roim Lechach. What is Roeh?
They were fit.
Fit.
Right. So Shemivura, he explains that the Nes HaMenorah raw L'Kol Yisrael roaring L'Kach, that through the miracle of the menorah, you see from this that all of Klal Yisrael were fit for this.
We deserved it.
Well, let's see how he explains. We'll give him a chance. Let's go further.
From the nace of the menorah, we see that all Yisrael were fit for this. Okay, that's difficult. Ki hamenorah he bishvil klal Yisrael, because the menorah was on account of all of Israel. Ulechein shoneh zeh mines parti.
Prati.
Prati.
L'tzadik echad.
L'tzadik echad.
Read this again. Read the sentence again.
Ulechein shoneh zeh mines prati l'tzadik echad.
So he makes a statement that with the miracle of the menorah, you see that all of the Jewish people were fit for this. That this is because that the menorah is symbolic of all of the Jewish people, and therefore this miracle that took place in the Beis Hamikdash with the menorah is different than a nes prati l'tzadik echad. It's different than a private miracle done for one specific tzaddik.
And even though there were a lot of what do you call it, misyavim, they were still included when
No,
it says all.
they were not, they weren't Jews. They're not included in Klal Yisrael.
The ones who were Hellenized,
Absolutely not.
but they were still Jews.
Well, so their DNA is gonna go to Shemayim. So the DNA will go to the Gan Eden. Not
Okay.
gonna help them. Any Jew, if he's a DNA Jew, if he's set to destroy Torah and interfere with the fulfillment of mitzvahs, and he's willing to kill other Jews that are willing to keep Torah and mitzvahs, he's not a Jew.
I hear.
He's worse than an animal. Animals usually don't eat their own kind, don't destroy their own kind.
Mhm.
They have competitors, and they have predators, and they have prey, but they don't, in general, usually species are within the species, they don't destroy each other.
What about Tinochet Shanishba?
The Brisker Rav said that Apicorsis is Nebuch and Apicorsis. I mean, it's true. It's a Rachmanis. It's a big compassion we have to have for them. But when it comes down to Lamaisa, if they're Apicorsis, it doesn't matter if a person's a shorte, he's a moron, and he wants to kill a person, has to show him. Doesn't matter if he's sane or he's not sane. He's a roidev, right? So if a person's a roidev, doesn't matter if he's a tinik shenishba or he's not a tinik shenishba. If he's roidev, he's a roidev.
But not. I mean, it's not so black and white. Everybody's not in the category either of he's a murderer or he's Torah observant. They're undoubtedly, I mean, if it's anything like what we have in America, there were undoubtedly, many shades of gray in between, people who were brought up in the Greek culture, and they didn't know any better, and they weren't out to get necessarily to get to kill religious people. They were just out to live their lives.
Again, I wasn't there, so I don't really know how polarized the situation was. I don't know how many people were actually neutral and how many people were completely Hellenized. But this is a type of, this is in the realm of a Kadosh Baruch Hu's Kadosh bonus, right? That only Kadosh Baruch Hu knows. Kadosh Baruch Hu judges people.
Well, how do we relate that to today's world? I mean, look at the situation in Israel. How do we relate that to the machlokas in Israel about Shabbos? We say that those who are in favor of transportation on Shabbos are rodefs, and we should hate them, and they're not Jewish.
100%. They're trying to destroy Torah. Whether they're consciously doing it, willingly doing it, knowingly doing it, but Lamaisa, they're trying to destroy Torah. They're trying to destroy the fulfillment of keeping mitzvahs.
So what about Kol Yisrael Revim Zelazeh? We don't have any obligation to try and makarav them?
Yeah, you have definitely so. I mean, if you can influence them, you're obligated to try and help them as much as possible. If you can try and, because you're saving them from the worst people. The worst people that are going to suffer are they themselves. What are they going to say when they get up to Shemayim and they say that they wanted to desecrate the Shabbos, and they wanted to destroy keeping kashrus in Eretz Yisrael? What are they going to answer when the truth is held up to them? So if you can in some way try and get them to do tshuva, that's a wonderful thing, for sure, definitely so.
Now they have that alternate organization. They're not trying to do away with the the existing kashrus structure, but they want to make a new organization that's going to give a different hashgacha. So that's an attack.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm not following that. I don't know too much. I don't know too much about it, but yeah.
They can't be so brazen as to just say, okay, we're not going to listen to the Rabbanim anymore. But what they did was they said, well, we're going to create a new organization, and that organization is also going to give hashgacha, give approval, and they're going to give approval to restaurants and all that stuff. That's what they're trying to pass.
Probably the early Christians tried to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Until they changed things to Sunday, they kept Saturday. They wanted to keep Saturday. They said you could keep this and this and that also. And then slowly but surely, the history showed them to what they really or their real intentions were.
Right.
So, I mean, you've had a lot of groups throughout Klal Yisrael that they weren't interested in keeping the Torah Shebeksav or Torah Shebal Peh. They had an understanding that Stukim, the Pharisees, not the Pharisees, but the others. But there've been other fracture groups, and but you have to let them know that they're trying to destroy Torah, not to be considered Jews. Anyone's trying to destroy Torah is not a Jew. Let's see paragraph 19.
So basically what it's saying is that all the Jews that we designate as Jews were worthy of the miracle.
Right.
Is that what we just read?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay. Kamo Rachvad.
Right. That's Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. Kamo Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa.
Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. She'amar mi she'amar l'shemen v'yadlik kule.
He's quoting a Gemara, the Gemara by Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. He was so poor that one day his daughter came to him. It was Erev Shabbos, and they were going to light the Ner Shabbos, the Shabbos candles. So his daughter came to him and says, "We have no oil to light. What we have is vinegar." So he said to her, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Misha Omer, me who said that oil should burn, he can say that vinegar should burn. So he told her to put the vinegar in place of the oil for the Shabbos candles, and the vinegar burned. So you see, Kadosh Baruch Hu does miracles on this. That oil can burn for 8 days is not. That's not a extremely unheard of and unknown miracle that has not taken place previously in Klal Yisrael. Those type of things have happened, but never had been done on a national scale. When the menorah was burning for 8 days, that was a miracle on a national scale, which was a whole different insight into HaKadosh Baruch Hu's relationship with the Jewish people.
V'chi zehu gam hashoneh bein ma she Rabbi Pinchas ben
Yeah,
Yair.
yeah, Pinchas Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. That it's also different from what occurred to Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. That the Gemara explains he was on the road with he and his donkey, and there was also traveling with him an Arab, a Ishmaeli, with his donkey. So they came to a river, right? It was a wide river that was too deep and fast running to cross. So Kadosh Baruch Hu made a miracle that the river parted, and Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair and his donkey, right, passed through the river on dry land. So they crossed to the other side, and then when they crossed to the other side, they realized that the Arab and his donkey were also were left on the other side. So Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair said to Rabboni Shalom, look, just like you made a miracle for my donkey, right? My donkey also came through. So let my traveling companion and his donkey pass through also. So Kadosh Baruch Hu split the river again, and the Arab and his donkey could pass through on the dry land that was the previous riverbed. So you see that Kadosh Baruch Hu can do these kind of miracles for individuals, but when he's doing this now for a whole nation on a national scale, that's a whole different type of a miracle that's taking place.
I'm confused. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair came through and he saw the Arab did not come through?
Excuse me?
I'm trying to understand the story. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair came through the river, and then he looked back and saw the Arab was still stuck and had not come through. Was that the beginning of the story?
Right.
And then he prayed, and then the Arab came through.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. All right. And then it says, and this is like the splitting of the Yam Suf for all of Israel.
Right. I mean, it's something which Kadosh Baruch Hu did, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu did for an individual, right? That was on the same level of miracle as the Kadosh Baruch Hu had done for the general Klal Yisrael.
Okay, v'chach nes hamenorah is that end quote?
Quote, Ayin Sham, and that's the
Look over there. Okay, so it was with the miracle of the menorah. I'm not making I'm not connecting the dots here.
Okay. Again, the reference he's making is that when you have these individual miracles that were done, that when Pinchas ben Yair went through the river is because he needed to get to the other side, right? And when vinegar burned for Rabbi Chinan ben Darseh, it was because he needed light for Shabbos. They needed those things. So you see a Kadosh Baruch Hu does miracles even for individuals for the things that they need. Okay?
Right.
But to do miracles for Klal Yisrael, so first of all, it's obvious. If a Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to do miracles for individuals for their private needs, certainly Kol v'chomer Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to do miracles for the whole Jewish people for their needs. So that's pushing. That's obvious. But the
Right.
HaKadosh Baruch should make a nace, a miracle of the Pat Shemin and the burning of the menorah for the 8 days. For Klal Yisrael, that's a tremendous indication of the love that the HaKadosh Baruch has for the Jewish people.
Right.
So with that, you now go to the 20th paragraph, and he's going to explain.
The yesh makom lehatin zos gam bekivanas Rashi zal she mid gash shemadgish lichtov belashon. There is a place. What is hatin?
To propose
this also as the intention of Rashi.
Right, very good. Very good.
That he explained.
Yes, in Rashi's explanation of the Gemara there.
Rashi's explanation of what is written in the Gemara. Al eze nes kivao ledoros. Concerning this miracle that was established for the generations, shehakbia ledoros mar'eh ki haya nes. What is hakbia?
Hakoveya, that it was fixed, meaning when the Gemara asked my Hanukah, so Rashi explained Al Ezenes, on which miracle was the festival of Hanukkah fixed for Doros, not simply for what happened that year, but for all Doros. Why was Hanukkah fixed to be a festival for all the generations to follow?
Okay, because this nes kalali liklal Yisrael. It was a rule for all of Israel.
It included all of the Jews. It included all of the Jews.
It included all of the Jews. Ha ma'id uba al ha te'alosenu lifaniv
Lefanav.
lifanav.
Yisbarach.
What was the last word?
Yisbarach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Okay, so what's Hameid?
It testifies.
It testified and came concerning the generations before us, before it.
It's Kalal and Kal Yisrael Hameid. It's a testimony for all of the miracle that took place with the burning of the oil for 8 days, is a testimony for all Jews. Uba'al Tolosenu Lefanav, and it comes to reveal our distinction before HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Okay, so just reviewing now the chapter 20, section 20. There is a place to propose here that also it was the intention of Rashi to explain what was written in the Gemara concerning this miracle that was established for the generations that was fixed for the generation that we see that this miracle included all of Israel and testified and came to reveal to reveal something before Hashem. What was it to reveal?
Our distinction as Jews before HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
To reveal our distinction before Hashem. I don't get it.
Okay.
We're saying that we're taking the Jewish people and we're distinguishing between those who are Jewish and those who we consider not Jewish because they were Rashayim.
Right.
And we're saying that the miracle of the oil testifies that the Jews that we have called Jews are all included and distinct from the non-Jews. Is that right?
Not exactly. When the Gemara he's explaining that when the Gemara asked the question, "My Hanukah," and Rashi explained that the Gemara's question was as follows: which of the miracles that took place at the time of Hanukah are we going to base our celebration of Hanukah on for all generations? That you have basically a choice. You have the miracles of the war, and you have the miracle of the burning of the oil. So the Gemara answered that we're going to base our celebration of Hanukkah for all generations to come based on the miracle of the oil and not the miracle of the war. Because the miracles of the war, you could say those miracles took place simply for the sake of saving Klal Yisrael. Okay, very good. That's very nice. HaKadosh Baruch has many times come to the aid of Klal Yisrael in many miraculous ways throughout all the generations, right? But we don't necessarily always make a celebration for all generations because of those miracles Hashem did to save Klal Yisrael. However, we have the miracle of the menorah and the oil burning for 8 days. This is a miracle which was not done for the sake of saving Klal Yisrael. This is a miracle was done in order to show the distinction of the Jewish people, right? And the special favoritism that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for the Jewish people, right? For not only then, but for all generations.
But doesn't the war? I'm sorry.
That's why we established the holiday of Hanukkah to show the distinction and the belovedness that Klal Yisrael has before Kadosh Baruch.
But doesn't the military victory also show how beloved we are, and doesn't it show the same thing that the oil shows?
Yeah, but no, not at all. It would only prove it for that particular generation. It wouldn't prove anything for future generations.
But why did why did the oil show that for future generations. It was a one-time thing, just like the military victory.
No, because again, that miracle of the oil was not necessary. There was no necessity for that miracle. So then why did it again? And Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want to do miracles. He's not interested. Kadosh Baruch Hu decided with his wisdom to create Teva, to create nature. And Kadosh Baruch Hu was very interested that nature should be preserved. Kadosh Baruch Hu not interested in nature not being preserved. And Kadosh Baruch Hu is the biggest favor of nature. He created all the physical laws and all the physical processes, and he wants those physical processes to follow their command to do what they're supposed to do. Oil is not supposed to burn for 8 days if you only have enough for 1 day. Vinegar is not supposed to burn, right? Oil is supposed to burn, not vinegar. Water is not supposed to burn. If water burns, that's a miracle, right? There's something being here. There's a contradiction between what's happening and a Kadosh Baruch Hu's Ratzon. So Kadosh Baruch Hu is willing to forego the command that the 1 day of oil should only burn 1 day, and he commanded it to burn 8 days instead, right? And that was in order to show his particular favoritism to the Jewish people. And not only then at that time, because the favoritism of Kadosh Baruch Hu showed at the time of the war was enough to show that he loved that particular generation. But how do you get an indication that Kadosh Baruch Hu loves the Jewish people for all times and all circumstances? That you see clearly from the burning of the menorah for the 8 days, because that was not necessary for their physical and spiritual survival. The miracle of the burning of the oil for 8 days was not necessary for any survival, spiritual or physical. It was not necessary at all.
And what does that have to do with Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair and the donkey and the Arab?
So because you see a Kadosh Baruch Hu does miracles for the needs of tzaddikim. A Kadosh Baruch Hu will come to the aid of tzaddikim and physically and spiritually. Kadosh Baruch Hu is very happy to do, if necessary, miracles. Kadosh Baruch Hu saved Avraham Avinu. Kadosh Baruch Hu saved Noah, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu saved Lot from Sodom, right? So you see that a Kadosh Baruch Hu does many times miracles to save tzaddikim and even their relatives. Even Lot, who was not a tzaddik, since he was a relative of Avraham Avinu who was a tzaddik, Kadosh Baruch Hu did a miracle for Lot, right? So
Right.
you see Kadosh Baruch Hu does many miracles for tzaddikim, right? But that's in order to have them personally be saved from situations that need a miracle to save them, right? But Kadosh Baruch Hu will also do that for individuals. Kadosh Baruch Hu will do it, for individuals, and also even more so, Kol v'chomer, for the general Klal Yisrael. He saved us at the Yam Suf, and so likewise, just as Hashem saved us from the Yam Suf, He saved us from our Greek enemies at the time of Hanukah. But that was in order to save us, right, from our enemies. But the lighting of the menorah, that was no miracle that was necessary for saving anybody. So what was the necessity of the miracle of the burning of the oil for 8 days? What caused the Kadosh Baruch Hu to do that? So Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to show, right, that this was something special that was happening, and it was something that was relevant to not just that particular generation, it was relevant to all of Klal Yisrael for all generations. Okay, look, we have another year to think about it, and
I'm going to need that year. I must admit, I'm pretty confused by all this.
yeah, why? What's confusing you, Luke?
Well, I still don't get what it is about the oil that is different from the
Military victory.
Okay.
yeah.
Gentlemen, do you remember any other time where we have a fire that burns and doesn't consume?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
snake.
the burning bush, right? The burning bush.
Exactly. The burning
Yeah.
bush is all. There are times when Hashem gives this sign of something burning and not being consumed as a show of his love for Klal Yisrael. He did it to Moshe at the sneh. He did it for the Jews with the oil at Hanukkah time. It is purely a sign of Hashem's love for Klal Yisrael at that point. He's going above Teva. He's going outside of Teva to do a nace to show his love for Israel. Period. That's all he's doing.
Right, but also the military victory falls.
No, Barry. Hashem has made a promise that Israel will never be destroyed. Therefore, the miracle of the military victory had to take place so we wouldn't be destroyed. There was no reason, like I first said, there was no particular reason that we had to have the miracle of the oil. Okay, the miracle of the oil, like he says, the miracle of the oil didn't add. It wasn't required for anything. It was just a pure sign of love from Hashem for Klal Yisrael. Period. It was something extra. Something extra out of the blue. Hashem gave us a very special sign. He gave us the oil that burned for 8 days without being consumed. Okay, and that was a sign of his love for us. It has nothing to do with his promise that will never be destroyed. It has nothing to do with any of the other promises he's made for us, throughout our history. It was just a sign of love at that point. He gave it to us, and we commemorate that forever.
Right. That's what we exactly. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's exactly why we celebrate Hanukkah. What are we saying thank you to Kadosh Baruch Hu on Hanukkah for? You're right. We have to thank Kadosh Baruch Hu for the war. We have to thank Kadosh Baruch Hu for the victory. But that's not so important to us. We have to thank Kadosh Baruch Hu that we have a special relationship with Kadosh Baruch Hu, and He's willing to do things above MalamEderech HaTeva. He's willing to do miracles just to keep that relationship with us.
So then by Alan Nisim, why don't we talk about the oil instead of all about the military victory?
Because Alan Nisim, right? This is the central question. And the answer is, the way I understand it, is Alan Nisim is our obligation. What is our primary obligation to do? When we're saying in Modim, we put that Chazal put that in Modim. When Modim Anachnu Lach, we are thankful to you. What are we primarily thankful for? You have to thank you because we're primarily thankful for that he saved us, that he did all those miracles to save us, right? That's what we have to do that's what we have to do on Hanukkah. Why did we have the whole celebration of Hanukkah? Because Hashem loves us so much. And a corollary to the fact that Hashem loves us so much is that he's willing to save us in times of our trouble.
But the oil didn't save us. The war saved us.
Exactly. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us through the wars, but that was not enough. So the Gemara asked the question, why Hanukkah? Why are we celebrating Hanukkah for all generations? Why are we celebrating Hanukkah for all generations? And we're doing that because Hashem gave us a special sign by having the oil burn for 8 days. That special sign was a sign that we should thank him for all generations for. This is something we have to celebrate Hashem for all generations.
So you seem to be contradicting yourself, because you say that we're thanking Hashem for all generations for the oil, but we're not thanking Hashem for the oil. We're only thanking Hashem for the victory.
Right. That's exactly my problem.
No, there's two things. Why are we celebrating? That's the Gemara's question. Why are we celebrating Hanukkah? My Hanukkah. Why are we celebrating Hanukkah? There were many times that Kadosh Baruch Hu saved us from wars, from enemies, right? And we don't celebrate each and every time that Hashem saved us from our wars and from our enemies, right? Purim's one time that we do, right? But we don't make note of all the times Hashem saved us from our enemies. Here we're making a special point to say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for saving from our enemies. Why specifically here now? Because Hashem did an extra nace to show that he loves us so much that he's willing to do this. And not only at the time of Hanukah he does it through all the generations, right? We call door v'dor, right? We say that on El Pesach. We call door v'dor. Each and every generation this happens to us constantly, each and every generation. It's not a generation that goes by that either the general Klal Yisrael holy or individuals have been threatened by our enemies and Hashem has come to our aid, right? Where are all those holidays? Where are all those celebrations? Hanukkah is unique. Purim is also unique. So the Gemara asks, my Hanukah, why are we doing this on Hanukkah? Why on Kafei Kislev for 8 days do we celebrate and we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the war? Why do we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the war for 8 days on Hanukkah? Because of the nace of the Shemin. Because Hashem did something extra special for us then, to show that he wants us to be especially thankful, not only for this particular war, for all the wars that he's done, right? Mikol Milchamos, Mikol Yeshuas, Mikol Purkim, everything, all the things Hashem and Kadosh Baruch Hu has done for all generations. We're thanking not only just the time of Hanukkah, we're thinking for all the times Hashem has done. There are things we don't even know about, we never dreamed about, we never heard about. They're not even recorded in the history books. But Hashem has been with us, and he saved us from each and every time in each and every generation. And so why do we do this particularly on Hanukkah? Because Hashem made a special nace of oil burning 8 days when it can only burn 1 day. And for that reason, we were understanding enough to realize that this was a special commemoration. Hashem wanted us to have these 8 days of celebration, not only for the war that took place then, but for all the other times that Hashem saved us in similar ways. Without the nace of the Shemin, it would have been just one of the other times that Hashem saved us and would have gone lost in the history books or the non-history books.
Isn't that what Purim is all about?
What do you mean?
There was no extra nace in Purim. Hashem did what was necessary.
Right.
But we still celebrate it.
See, Purim's different. Purim took place while we still had prophets, right? While we had the Anshi Knesset Gedolah, right? So yeah. Purim, there were the Chachamim and there were the prophets, and they, with their prophecy and their Ruach HaKodesh, understood that Purim was a special time to celebrate. They had the power to be Koveya for all generations, the celebration of Purim, for all the Jewish people throughout all our generations. But at the time of Hanukkah, prophecy had finished 200 years previously. The Anshi Knesset Gedolah had died off 200 years previously. There was the time of the Tanoim. It was the time of the Chazal, right? What gave Chazal the right to make a celebration for all generations, for all Jews throughout the whole world at that time? Only because of the fact that there was a Nes Hanukkah of the Pak Shemin.
Uh-huh.
That gave them the right to make a celebration for like Rashi says, L'doros, right? Al eza nes kavur l'doros. On what nes were they kaveya for doors? What gave them the right to make this celebration? You can't just add on to the Torah. The Torah is holy. The Torah is min hashamayim. You can't decide to invent white tefillin. You can't decide to create a mitzvah of white tefillin. I'm going to wear white tefillin. You can't do that. You can't decide to wear a talus of 5 corners or of 3 corners. You can't decide to do that. So where do you get a right to make the holiday of 8 days? You don't just dream up holidays. We'll have Martin Luther King Day. We'll have Valentine's Day. We'll have Halloween. We'll we'll have Secretary's Day, we'll have Petunia Days, we'll have the Super Bowl holiday, baseball players Hall of Fame Day. We don't make those up. We're not stupid people that decide to make a holiday for everything. United States Stamp Day. George Washington's birthday day, Lincoln's birthday's day. We don't do those stupid things. There's holiness to what we do. When we decide to do something, there's holiness, there's kedusha to something. There's something which is worth eternity when we do something. A Jew does something, it's something which is eternal. Can't just decide to make 8 days of holiday. So we had a nace of the burning of the shemen for 8 days. So that told the Chachamim, the Tanoim of that generation, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was showing us a special miracle that's not necessary to save us. And that special miracle is enough of an indication for us to now decide for all generations, to keep an 8-day festival of Hanukkah for all Jewish people in all generations to follow. And we make it, and that becomes a mitzvah, and that becomes eternal. When you light the menorah, you make a bracha. You make a bracha with the Shem Malchus. You're taking the name of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. They didn't have the power to do that unless they understood from the miracle of the Pach Shemen, of the burning of the menorah for the 8 days. They understood that that's what Hashem wanted us to do. That's why he did that miracle. He did that miracle that we should celebrate this miracle.
But by the way, I don't know if I don't know where I learned it, but this situation just before we end, about the donkeys and the opening up, and Bendosi does a special thing for the Arab, right? And he opens it up for the Arab so the Arab can cross, right?
Right.
Well, the way I learned it was that after that happened, and the Arab crossed and they were traveling, the Arab robbed him.
I don't know. You have to look at the Gemara. It's a Gemara. You have to
check it out. I think in the end, the Arab wasn't too appreciative.
All right, could be. You have to look at the Gemara. Have to see the Gemara. I think if I'm not mistaken, it's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah. If I'm not mistaken.
Avodah Zarah?
I think so. Let me see. Not sure. Let me see here. I can try and do a search.
Okay.
To
be continued.
Yeah, we can Bez Hashem continue.
Are we still going to take a break, or are we just going to finish out?
Okay, if you want, we can switch directly to the Mishnah Berurah if you want. No sense taking a break. Well, by the time we take a break and come back, only a few minutes. I don't mind going straight through. Anyone wants to take a break, they can take a break, but we can continue on straight through.
Okay, I'm going to switch the recording.